Live your life, boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
Yeah, rear naked choke of Cocker Spaniel, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Bro.
Change the neighborhood up.
Conspiracy Farm. Go. Check it out.
All right, friends, family, farmers, back at you one more again with another episode for the archives, an installment for the archives of the Conspiracy Farm. Jeffrey Wilson, always riding shotgun with my partner in crime, back in the saddle. Pat Miletich, how we doing, champ?
I'm doing great. 2 shows in 1 week. Holy shit.
I know, man. We have to call somebody. This is miraculousness. But no, it's good to be back, man, as always. The guest we have today, super stud, no stranger to the show. I mean, literally, this guy's been with us since day one. I mean, he's pretty much, his company is pretty much the parent sponsor of this outfit that helps us keep this machine going, dude. I tell you what, if you don't have green 85s on your shelf immediately, you are slipping, ladies and gentlemen. He is the El Jefe of the chemical-free body. Back with us, Tim James. How we doing? Happy New Year, my friend.
Yeah, Happy New Year, guys. I'm glad you guys got a couple episodes in this week. It's been a while.
It has. I mean, as things do, things will just happen in life. You know what I mean? My work schedule, Pat's work schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Just hectic, man. So, and then we had some technical issues that we just had to work out, which we got worked out. And we're back at you, man. So, what you been up to, dude? I know, as the new shoe crew hits the streets for, their New Year's resolution. I know you got your coaching stuff going on. You got a podcast you're going to be launching. What has been going on with my boy, Tim James?
Well, there's been a lot of stuff going on. The podcast launches on Monday. That's the Health Hero Show. That'll be available. And I'm really excited about that. We've already got 7 episodes banked to release, and then we're going to start interviewing people. Probably have you guys on, too. Why not?
That'd be nice.
We'd love to.
That's good. We've been doing private coaching for a long time, helping people with their health and their life spiritually as well. And we just launched a live weekly group coaching program. And I would like to take the genius credit for it, but it was actually one of my clients. She went through a health history form with me, and afterwards I told her how much one-on-one coaching, what the investment was, and she just couldn't do it. It was just too much for her. She can't afford $1,000 a month. So she's like, "Don't you have group coaching?" I was like, "No, I don't do that." And then she's like, "Well, why not?" See, in my mind, I had all this technical difficulties, like I would have to create. I didn't know, because I'm not like super tech guy yet. I'm working on it. And I just called a couple of my buddies up, and within, 2 days, I had the whole platform put together for under $300, and we've launched it. We're in pre-launch. We just did our mailing to our group today. I'm going to pre-launch 300 people at the $37 mark, and then after that it'll be $197. We've already gotten 42 members, so it's taken off pretty quick.
In your personal coaching kind of the trend, is there a trend that you see? I mean, obviously everyone wants to get healthy, but is there a common denominator with other than just wanting to get healthy? Do you notice any common theme with what they might be struggling with?
Yeah, in general, people are not happy. And the reason why is, it's just the environment. 74% of people are going to jobs they don't like. We are in relationships that are not working. And the reason why these things are in finances are failing, the reason why these things are happening to people is because they're not taking care of themselves. And we've been taught to put everybody else first and to buy into everything. So what's happened from an environmental standpoint is our bodies are polluted. That's why we call our company Chemical-Free Body, because we know if we can detox you and get all the toxins out, like this military veteran I just got off the phone with, you're going to start feeling better. So for most people are just tired. They're stimulating themselves to get through the day with coffee and energy drinks and sugars, and then they crash at the end of the day, and then they have to do it all over again. So it's become it's a life that's not, they're not really living their life, They're just kind of going through the motions, and they're on like a like a gerbil on a wheel or something like that.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is break people out of it. And I'll tell you, this guy who's Sergeant First Class, he heard a Conspiracy Farm podcast where you guys interviewed me a long time ago. It was one of the first podcasts like 3 years ago. He's listened to it like 5-6 times, and then he bought some products, some detox products, and he's an Army paratrooper, 5th Special Forces Group, and the dude's like in his early 40s, and he has got so many issues, physical pains, and exhausted. He's on disability, and I just followed up with him today, and he is feeling fantastic. His taste buds are changing, his energy's back, he's sleeping better than he slept in a long time, and he's feeling really good. So that's why it's really important for people to just detox, and all we got him doing is drinking a ton of water and taking a few of the products just to get started. And he doesn't even realize, like I told him, I said, you don't even realize how good you're going to feel. This is just the beginning, brother.
Wow.
So anyway, so back to what you were saying is like, what do I notice? I just notice that people are tired, and they're looking for something that works. They're looking for something simple, and they don't like complicated, and they're looking for results. And a lot of the products and programs out there are full of toxins and chemicals and empty promises, and we try to be different on that. And we just try to, connect people back with nature and make it easy for them.
Well, man, Pat even lament this as well. Green 85, you guys. Break that down if you don't mind. I mean, the live green, we know none of us are huge fans.
Want me?
Well, I mean,
Yeah, what's all in it? Tell us.
We got plenty of time, but I'm just saying we know the benefits of greens in our diet, and we know how greens are so devoid in our diet, and the nutrients and the micronutrients that's in there, et cetera. A lot of people just don't like to chew it, blah, blah, blah. Green 85 is just jam-packed with just serious live greens. Break down how dope that is.
So for those who are new listening to this that don't know me, like back when I was 37, I was almost 40 pounds overweight, gut issues. I had blood coming out in my stools. I had to have an organ removed, acid indigestion, eczema on my elbows. I was a mess like most people walking around the United States today on standard American diet. And I healed myself through juicing. And beyond that, I learned living foods. So I grew trays and trays and trays of sprouts. Now, who's going to do that? Not very many people. The only reason I did it because my buddy was dying of cancer, and we went to this health institute, and that's what they showed us to do. I committed to doing that. So I grew all these sprouts for him and me, and we juiced them, and twice a day, like a clock for 5 years, he heals himself of cancer. No chemo, no radiation, no surgery. So for convenience, though, after teaching 2,500 people proper juicing classes, and people would buy the juicer, they would get excited about it, but then after a month or two, the juicer would be under the cupboard, and they wouldn't be using it anymore because of the time it takes to make it, the expense to buy the stuff, and the time it takes to clean it up. So they just, even though the benefit's there, they just wouldn't do it because of the time. So I reluctantly said, okay, I got to come up with a solution, meet people where they're at. It's better to have them do something rather than nothing.
Exactly.
So that's when we came up with a very concentrated juice extract powder. So the difference is from a lot of the green powders out there, and they're all good at some level, because any movement you do to improve yourself, it doesn't matter what green product you take, you're going to create a chemistry inside of you of momentum just from your feelings and from frequency, just from doing something good. It's just kind of like when you watch something funny and you smile, you feel better, right? How do you feel better? Well, it's a chemical, it's a frequency that happens. So with that said, but I'm a fanatic about this stuff. So I was trying to make this green powder as close to a fresh pressed juice as possible, because I know that when you take something in nature and you turn it into a powder, that's called processing, and you're going to denature that at some level. So I wanted to make up for that. So we have wheatgrass juice is the first example. Instead of just a wheatgrass blade ground up, we actually extracted the juice and then concentrated it. And believe me, this stuff is dried under 110 degrees to keep the enzymes intact. That's a very important thing. So it's sun dried or air dried over a 1 to 2 day period. But we extracted the juice, and then they concentrated like 6 to 1, 10 to 1, 20 to 1 to make up for that processing. And we don't even, all of our products are made in a lab in California, but we take the raw materials from Green 85 and we ship them to another lab. It's more expensive for us, but they have a very specialized machine that will mix the ingredients without denaturing them further. So that's why we do that. So when you can test this product after it's manufactured with what's called Kirlian photography, and you can actually see the energy or the life force beaming out of it, just like if you're you have like night scopes where you can see at night.
You can see an aura.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
other green powders will be dead. They won't have the aura won't be there.
Dude, you've never pointed this out to us, have
Yeah, I was
you?
gonna say that's new.
No, it's just like because sometimes I don't go that deep with people because they think I'm crazy sometimes. But
But
I'm like
I've seen those. I've seen those pictures online. A comparison of a GMO apple and then like a live organic apple. I mean, or tomato even, or a myriad of fruits, and you could see that.
The
Oh, yeah.
aura.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
For sure.
We're all frequency. If you boil it down to an atom spinning, there's energy there.
Well,
Right.
oxygen's
And I
keeping
actually
us
got to
alive,
see-
and we can't see that.
I got to see alive when I was at the institute. They showed videos of people with Kirlian photography, like they had a guy in his 60s and a little like 4-year-old grandchild just playing with him. He was in a rocking chair type thing, and then the child started running around him, and you could see the child running around him, and his frequency coming off of the grandfather, and the frequency off of the child, and it was almost like, what'd you say? When like a airplane's taking off, there's that stream behind it.
Right.
There was like an energy field behind the child, and then it would evaporate. It would just keep going. He was circling, and then when he jumped up in the grandfather's lap, the energy just went. It increased around all of them. You could see it, and they went through all these examples of stuff like that. And then they had another one where a guy, they had him eat a hamburger and a milkshake, and I think some French fries. And they were measuring. They had him hooked up to this Kirlian photography, measuring his electrical or vibratory frequency, and then every time his Adam apple went up and down with a swallow of a hamburger, the shake, or the fries, that frequency you could see it shrink around his body. It was getting smaller and smaller. Then they stopped for half an hour, had him drink some water, and then they made a fresh pressed green juice where they actually took living sprouts and juiced them on the spot and handed it to him. And he drank it, and every time his Adam's apple moved, you could see the frequency get bigger and bigger around him. And I was like, "Holy crap!" Because I didn't believe any of this stuff when I first went to that institute, because I didn't, I was a redneck. So, but you see it, and then you start feeling it, and you're drinking these juices at this place, and all of a sudden you're like, God, I feel like this is the fountain of youth. I remember telling Charles that. I'm like, dude, this is the fountain of youth. We found it. You're gonna make it. You're gonna beat this cancer, and he did. So juicing has been a really huge part of my life. So with Green 85, we put wheatgrass juice, which is great for purifying the blood. It's got like 92 minerals out of the 102 trace minerals found in plants. Spirulina, which is very powerful. People looking for protein, that kind of stuff. Oatgrass juice extract, chlorella, which is a green algae. Again, that one's like 52% protein, right behind blue-green algae. Wheat sprout extract, so we get those B vitamins that are missing, especially for the plant-based eaters out there. Broccoli sprouts, which are really high in really good anti-cancer stuff. Moringa leaf, which is a multivitamin all by itself, and that stuff is awesome. It's concentrated. Acai berry or acai berry. Dandelion leaf, which is one of the top 6 Chinese herbs. Kale, cabbage, beetroot, broccoli, parsley,
I mean,
leaf,
any
carrot
one
root.
of these by themselves could hook you up as far as getting your micronutrients, but you're getting
Yeah,
that
that's the stuff.
combination that is just like,
Yes. And then another one that's really important is dulse. Dulse flakes are a sea vegetable, and they're very high in iodine. And there's a major problem with thyroid issues today and hormonal imbalances from the lack of selenium and the lack of the lack of iodine. And dulse flakes is completely chock full of iodine, which is really awesome. And it's an organic form, so it's been through the root system of a plant, so it's totally assimilable with your carbon-based body, which is awesome. And then we sprinkled a little bit of probiotics and enzymes in here, and then we sweetened it with a raspberry extract, no sugar, and lohan berry or monk fruit. What's cool about monk fruit is it's 170 times sweeter than sugar, but get this, if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, it actually helps to regulate and stabilize your blood sugar. So it's a sweetener that helps counterbalance the problems that you have, which is really cool. So, and I originally had ashwagandha in here and some other stuff that'll kind of jack you up a little bit, but I wanted this to be for everyone, so I took the ashwagandha and the other stuff out. That way people that are pregnant can take it, little babies can take it. If you're nursing, you can take it, or you don't want any stimulants, right?
Yeah, no, that's
so
good.
This is a total natural way to get energy. And for people that are not eating veggies or don't have time or access to it, we can ship this right to your door, and you can do a scoop or two a day and change your life.
Absolutely. ChemicalFreeBody.com/farmer, ladies and gentlemen. Promo code farmer for not just discounts on that, but I mean, again, and not to sound repetitive, because, you know, sometimes, you know, we got a lot of new listeners. So you'd not only provide that green 85, which is, as we just broke down, so absolutely crucial as far as getting those kind of micronutrients, etc. Your gut health, man. When we first talked, you really blew my mind as far as how hugely important our gut health is to our overall body, and how there's more. I mean, we all think of serotonin, that mood elevator is all in our brain, you know what I mean? And then you broke down how there's more there's more serotonin produced in the gut than in the brain, and how important products like yours, proper gut bacteria, etc., are essential to maintaining that health.
Yeah, it's everything. I believe that the gut and organ systems are the driving engine to, you know, our body. And if your car's not running well, you got to take that sucker into the shop and clean it up and then give it good fuel. And that's all we're basically doing. And we're trying to do it the right way. You know, we're primarily, number one, a coaching company. The supplements came secondhand because I got sick and tired of freaking researching all these companies, look at the ingredients and calling and what's this and what's that. And that's how I learned what all these things were, because I'm like, I didn't know. And I finally like, okay, I got this product. It's really good. My clients need this. This is awesome. And I'd be taking it myself. And they wanted, Tim, what are you doing? Because they're busy being a CPA or an accountant or a paratrooper or whatever. And they're counting on me to do the research. And I would be, 6 months later, there would be xanthan gum in the formula, or they change the ingredients, or Nestle would buy them like in the form of the Garden of Life. And all of a sudden it's like, who knows what's in there now? Because usually when these big companies come in, they slip in the chemicals, and the way the laws are written, they don't have to really tell you. The stuff can say organic and natural, but it's BS. You know, so the only way you know you're going to get high quality product is if you know the people behind it and what they believe in. And I think people are moving away from that. We've seen that quite a bit, where people are not trusting big organizations anymore. They're looking for individuals that have the results that they want, and they're following what they do.
Well, and you see these big companies, man, they're going Colgate and Gillette's or whatever, going in and buying your Toms, or these organic companies, and politics, and of course money is getting so involved in this organic stuff. I mean, like you just mentioned, things can be have 6 or 5% junk or whatever in it now and still be considered organic. The politicians now are trying to widen that to like 10, 11%. You can have junk in there. So it's almost like you said, unless you really know who grew this, I mean, it's, even though it says organic, you know, or like fat free, like it just isn't quite what it proclaims to be.
Yeah. And you know, this always goes back to that brownie story where I don't know if I told this before, but there was this lady, and she had this award-winning brownie recipe. Like everywhere she went, she won first place. And she happened to be making those brownies at home that day, getting ready for another event. Her daughter comes home, who was 17 at the time, and I think back then, she wanted to go to this movie with her friend. Her friend was with her. She was like, I think 16. She was 16. And she said, hey, Mom, we really want to go to this movie. It's really awesome. Everybody's going to it. It's the talk of the town. It's so awesome. But it's rated R, and you have to be like, I don't know, 17 or 18 to go, and she wasn't old enough yet, right? And her mom's like, oh, okay. She's like, can you let us go, Mom, please? And she's like, it's a great movie. It's got a great storyline. It's fantastic. There's only like one partial nudity scene and then like one cuss word. That's it. There's nothing else. And her mom thought about it, and she's like, okay, you can go. And then she was taken back. She knew there's no way her mom was going to let her go. And her friend was like, all right, let's do it. And her mom said, okay, you can go, but there's one exception. You have to eat some of my brownies before you leave to go to the movie. And they looked at each other like, all right, cool. So they grabbed the brownies. They started eating them. Her mom's like, but wait, before you eat them, I got to tell you something. This recipe's a little bit different than normal. And they're like, what are you talking about? So she said, well, it's the same recipe. It's exactly the same, the way I always made them. But this time, it's just a little different. I put just a little teeny bit. You won't even notice it, but it's just a little teeny bit of cat poop in there. But you won't even notice it. And they're like, oh, my God, it's so gross. And they threw it down. They went to eat the brownies. She's like, why won't you eat them? It's like, that's gross. You put cat poop in the brownies? Is this a joke? What's going on? She's like, the same reason you're not going to eat those brownies is the exact same reason you're not going to go watch that movie. You're not old enough. And because of that one cuss word or that little brief bit of nudity, it spoiled the entire movie. And that's why you're not going. And see, that's my whole principle with supplementation. And that's why if you look on our ingredients list, I also put 3 things on all of them that are not in there. No magnesium stearate, no silicon dioxide, and no dicalcium phosphate. You guys can go look this up like I did. Silicon dioxide is a level 3 toxin on the EPA's toxin list, yet it's in most supplements.
Yeah.
It's the poop and the brownies. And I'm like, I've had it. I'm like, I'm so sick of this shit. So that's why I created my own stuff, because I have to know what's in it.
That's almost a T-shirt or something. Stop eating the brownies with poop in it.
Yeah, it's so that's the whole reasoning behind it. I'm so jaded by commercial interests and all the all that stuff and the money. It's just like, I just want a good product that's going to work for myself and my family. So we built those products for our coaching group, but what's happened now with people like you and other people sharing it, it's actually becoming a business by itself, which is great. I was not expecting that.
And again, I mean, you with like, again, I hate to repeat myself, but with veggies being so essential, man. I mean, I only like a few too, but ladies and gentlemen, please just give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? You got tons of energy. You sleep better than ever. You poop better. I mean, it's just the ripple effect that comes with not just this, but drinking more water, et cetera, but the jam-packed just goodness that's in these. I can't, and believe me, I mean, of course he's a sponsor, but I've always been looking at this stuff too, man. I've seen our commercial food system just get hella corrupted, and even like I was just saying, the organic foods aren't really organic. So I mean, even though if you buy them, you're still going to get the cat poop, you know what I mean? So it's just do kind of the best we can to get as much, like you said, you can't run a Formula 1 race car on sugar water, and you got that serious fuel in your stuff, bro.
Yeah, and I've got some serious, like, not just average folks too, but I got people with serious health issues and people that are serious athletes that are getting a tremendous amount of benefit from real concentrated foods and real concentrated herbs. I mean, this is the stuff that's been going on for millennia. People have been using herbs like Chinese herbology, Asian, and then the Indian herbology, the Ayurvedic stuff has been around for 6,500 years. Okay, it's been around for 6,500 years because it freaking works. There's just not a lot of money in it, right? And every year the costs go up because, somebody's got to go out and gather these things by hand and then grind them and dry them at a low temperature and take care of them. That's cheaper than a lab that's going to bang out a synthetic derivative of a plant, at low cost. And it really goes back to, I like this military vet. I pulled up what I want to show. He's 40-some years old, retired disability, believes in natural healing, but he's got insomnia, terrible crazy appetite, wants to be healthy, got lots of energies from being a paratrooper. He's in lots of pain every morning. It's been rough to adjust to civilian life, to find a purpose, basically. Yeah. And he feels like he's in a dark hole. He's got his kids that are motivating him to get going. And so there he was. He's just drinking more water, literally. I got him drinking more water, chewing his food. He's kind of doing this on his own because he's not even in my coaching program. He actually just signed up for the group one. But now
people probably heard you just say chewing his food. Like, well, of course he's chewing his food. Drop that real quick, like how essential that is.
Chewing it really well, chewing it until liquefied. It's a game changer. But here's what he's doing. He's drinking water. He's taking Green 85 and Gut Cleanse and Critical Cleanse, the blood purifier and the gut. And now he's craving greens. His bloating is almost gone. His energy's up. And he said, he goes, I can't believe how good I'm sleeping. He goes, I'm getting 5-6 hours of straight sleep now without waking up. He goes, this is huge for me. He's barely just touching the surface of how good he's going to feel if he stays on this lifestyle, on this track. That's what I get so excited about, because this is not like rocket science. It's simple physics. It's 1 + 1 is 2. If you're deficient because your food's deficient, grown in deficient soils, you're going to be deficient, and eventually you're going to break down. You're going to be tired. All Green 85 does is replace all that, and it does it very conveniently for it. And the water is going to help you start detoxing all these toxins. So and so does the Gut Cleanse product and the Critical Cleanse. Those are going to help clean you out. It's like hiring a mechanic every morning for pennies.
But again, this stuff ain't going to do it for you. You gotta want to do it. You got to put the work in. And something that you've said, man, and I think this is kind of really important for everybody, dude, the discipline of self-discipline as well as self-accountability, and drop on how important creating that daily kind of like morning routine is to maintaining kind of the discipline to keep your schedule, or, to maintain your.
Well, it's everything. So, usually the people that, unfortunately, most people wait to change until they have to. Like, they've got a tumor or a mass, or they had a heart attack, and they're like, oh shit, I better get healthy. You know, this also happens when they break up with somebody or they dissolve a marriage of 15 or 20 years. Then they let themselves go and they're like, oh crap, I'm back on the market again. I guess I better start eating healthy and work out, you know. And then they get back in another relationship and then they go right back down. So self-discipline is very important, and it really boils down to self-love. So how I start people off is we make things simple. We don't try to complicate it. If you want to change your life, the first thing we recommend is that you get a scheduled bedtime and a scheduled wake-up time. And that's very important. You start your day when you go to bed. So we set that up, and then you wake up in the morning. We make it simple. We just have them, you know, drink some water first thing. Even if you drink coffee for 25 years, okay, well, we're going to change that up, because obviously if you're not where you want to be health-wise, you got to make some changes. You know, acidic coffee is not the best thing to put in your body to jar your nerve endings and your cells first thing in the morning. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying probably the first thing you should put in your body is what you're mostly made of, which is water. And if you can, get purified water. And then we have people take the products, and drink the greens down, and off they go. That's it. Get the morning routine in place first. You got to start with something. You got to drive a stake into the ground and get something going. So if you can drink water first thing, set your bedtime, get up, drink your water, take a couple these little detox pills, and drink down some greens, and just go about your day and start with that. And then after you get that in place, your energy's going to pick up. You're going to be like this guy. His taste buds change. His energy's changed. He's craving more greens, which is very typical. People are starting to crave more salads. And they just automatically, as we clean the body up of all the junk and crap that's inside of it, the body starts vibrating back towards its natural patterns of where it wants to be and where you're genetically programmed. That's just how it works. So I believe in baby steps. Don't go to the gym and try to, lift for 2 hours. Just walk around the block and call it success and build upon that.
Yeah, and this, I mean, we've said this before, and as we've had this conversation many times about healthcare costs, et cetera, it sucks to, like you said, have to call in the bomb squad after the bomb's already gone off. You don't want that to happen. This is all preventative healthcare measures that we all have within our power to take. So again, we're not, looking at some whatever stage 4, whatever it is.
Yeah, and why wait? I think I talked about this a long time ago in one of the other episodes, but it was a World Series deal, and there was something where they handed out these cards to everybody, and they said, write down a name of somebody, friend or loved one that you know that has cancer or had cancer, and then what they did was they panned around the whole stadium. Every single person was holding up a sign, and I was deep into this work. I knew cancer was crazy, but for me to get that visual, because I'm a visual person, that's the day I realized how bad it was, because everybody was holding up a sign, and there wasn't just one name on those cards. There was like 2 or 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
I was like, we got a problem, and that's just one problem is cancer. So why would we want to wait for that? Why? Why do you want to wait? And besides, and furthermore, why would you want to live a life of low frequency and low energy and worry the entire time, unless you're like me and you had your head buried in the sand and you thought you were invincible even though you're falling apart? Why would you want to wait when you could take responsibility for your life and your health now, and then everything else is going to get better? Your relationships, your sex, your emotions, your spirituality, all that stuff. Everything gets better when your health is better.
You mentioned something a second ago, and I think it really goes to the heart of this, bro. Like, it's almost like you said, it's easier said than done. But I think self-love has a huge, huge role in this, because some people think I'm not worth living a healthy life. You know what I mean?
Well, I've got
that value, that lack of value for their own life, even if they have kids and all that other stuff, it still doesn't change. Like people who get diagnosed with lung cancer and they still smoke, it's just like, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah, well, all those things, whether it's smoking cigarettes or it's eating too much crappy food, or doing drugs, or spending your time in the email, or working way too much, or sex addict, or whatever, alcoholic, all those things are forms of self-loathing. And for those people that are wondering, if you're out there and you're listening today and you feel like you have no purpose, I'm here to tell you that is you're completely wrong. Okay? If you're on this planet right now, you're here for a freaking reason. You weren't by chance. And we need you. And what we need you to do is we need you to follow your highest excitement in life, whatever that is. And it doesn't have to be some big thing. It could be little things, like going for a walk or talking to a friend or taking a drive, whatever that is, and living your highest excitement in the moment. And by doing that, you will start to reveal and you move closer and closer to yourself. And by doing this and living a life that way, I promise you, you will find your purpose. You will find your passion just by following your excitement. It works that way. I've worked with so many people in my private coaching, and they transform themselves. They're not even the same person that I when I first meet them, and they tell me this too. And I know I'm a different person. I talked about this today with the guy I was talking to. I was like, I'm a completely different person than I was in January 1st of 2011 when I started this journey. Completely different. I'm open-minded. I realize that what I don't know that I don't know, and I have a lot to learn, even though I've learned a lot. And and by having a good attitude, that's going to help you. So if you're stuck in an island and you're around a bunch of friends or family members that are not supportive of you, it's going to be really important for you to hang around with people that are like-minded. And that was one of the reasons that I started that group coaching page, was for people to plug in, because that lady told me in Florida, she's like, I'm on an island. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I just want to get healthy. I'm tired of feeling like shit. But I want to change my diet, and everybody's laughing at me. Oh, come on.
Yeah. That's a huge part of that energy shift as well, when you surround yourself with individuals who are trying to level up. Last time you were on, bro, and I think this is kind of a part of this larger self-loving and moving away from self-loathing, etc. You went and had an ayahuasca ceremony, and we talked about that in our last episode, if you guys want to peep that out. But has there been any kind of lingering, not like physical or anything bad, but just emotionally, spiritually, etc., lingering footprint from that night, from that ceremony, that you've moved forward with?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny, it's crazy you brought this up, because the ayahuasca thing, I haven't talked about it in weeks. In the last 2 days, I've been talking about it like crazy to everybody. And I've started meditating about it and thinking about it. And there was the connection, because I was adopted and I was given up at birth. And back then, I still think they do it this way today, is that the mama doesn't get to see the baby, because then there's that bonding. And then a lot of times, if you're set up for adoption, then the mom's like, I'm keeping it. And that blows the whole deal, right? Right. So the baby's just whisked off. Well, that's a problem, because I was never breastfed. So that means that I missed out on a huge amount of my immune system. Like you should be breastfeeding for at least 2 years to build that baby's immune system up. So I already started in a negative hole, and I reconnected with my mom, and I went through that experience. They'll have to list it. It was crazy. Like,
it was heavy. It was real heavy.
It was crazy, man. I was like a fetus there, and then I was like a baby on my mom's breast when I was hugging that lady. You heard the whole story. But it also came out that I found my power again. I realized what I was doing is the right thing, because sometimes it's daunting, because I'm not doing this for money. I've been doing this to help people, and the finances have been really slow. And then other businesses I've done, it's usually, within 2 years, I'm rocking and rolling. Everything I touch just turns to gold, and it hasn't been that way. It's been a struggle, like, because this is all online. It's technical. I'm not a tech guy, but I've had to learn things, and you guys know, and it's been a different path. So it's helped me. I can actually, when I think about it, it takes me right back to those moments, and all that energy and those feelings come right back to me, and I get re-empowered. That plants heal. And water is sacred. These are two major things that people should know, and I'm really passionate about getting that information out again, or continuing to do it. And that it sticks with you. So I'm still planning. I'm going to do ayahuasca again at least once, maybe twice this year. I don't know, but I'm going to make that a constant practice. I think I'm going to try to do it twice this year.
It's definitely on my bucket list, man. Like I said, I can't even really put a consistent show together with my boy here, let alone fit in an ayahuasca.
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if I could, if I would do it. I really don't. I mean, I don't know.
It's definitely not for everybody, as we've heard, and even just if you research it, it's definitely not for everybody.
I mean, they say it's got the God molecule, or it's the God
dimethyltryptamine, the DMT.
The God plant connection to the universe and our creator, so to speak. The feeling that you got from it?
Yeah, it was definitely taps you back into source. That's for sure. To be able to experience what I experienced. I mean, dude, I was like flying through space. Like,
that was so...
like I'm there.
Yeah.
Like I can still see it and feel it. Like better than any big screen.
Yeah.
Not even close. I'm just like I mean, some of these people around me were puking and throwing up and, crying and all that stuff. And I'm sure I'll probably have those experiences in the future when I do it again. But I was just laughing the whole time. I was having a good old time, smiling, and I laughed for probably 4 hours.
That's awesome. That's
well,
awesome.
it's just
I did cry
yeah,
too.
the unknown of but at the same time we've got MIT and Harvard and a bunch of other scientists saying that doing hallucinogenic mushrooms in small doses is relieving depression for a long time in people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're using
it's
MDMA.
really very interesting.
They're using MDMA for marriage therapy. I mean, there are these certain psychotropic, whatever you want to call them, hallucinogenic drugs that have been effective. I mean, the government didn't spend shit tons of money studying it. I would implore everybody to go online and find. It was like the 40s or 50s. It was basically, what was her name? What was the Beaver Cleaver's mom's name?
June.
It was basically June Cleaver, Housewife 101, that they gave acid to. And you should just see her reaction. It's absolutely, she connected to the source, and you can tell. She's sitting there talking to the interviewer. She's like, "Can't you see this? Oh my God, I feel so bad for you that you can't see that." I mean, check it out, man. It's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize, like,
I'm sorry, not to advocate just mad drug use. That's not what I'm saying. These are tools. These are not social recreational things. These are spiritual tools. Sorry, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, a lot of people, like, I was still, I still have all this social conditioning, and then this person was like, "Oh, I'm taking mushrooms now and it helps." And I have all these clients, and after a while, they're all like, "Mushrooms, mushrooms, mushrooms." And I was like, "Okay, I got to look into this." And they're microdosing them. When you microdose them, it's like such a small amount. There's no high, there's no nothing. It's slow buildup, and then over time, it really helps with depression and anxiety and other things. What a wonderful tool with zero side effects.
When the doors of perception are cleansed, things will appear as they truly are. Infinite. William Blake.
Right.
Yeah. And some of these other, like, pharmaceutical drugs they'll take for depression and anxiety actually, lower your libido 60%. Well, that's depressing to me. You're going to be more depressed.
Well, and that kind of, I guess we can even have the conversation. I mean, why that is so strange. Why do we see tobacco and alcohol just readily available, knowing the detrimental statistics, but these things that we know have, they're just now kind of catching on to CBD and cannabis and those medical applications, but it's like, it's that whole inversion of reality. It makes sense because they want to make money off it.
Bro.
It is. Matrix. And like you said, there has to be some monetary, they want, you got to be able to make money off it. But yeah, Patrick, anything you want to holler at my boy? I feel like I've dominated this conversation. I've hogged Tim all to myself.
No, it's fine. I'm enjoying listening, to be honest with you. And when we go back to, Greens 85, or the gut cleanse, all the products, I've been buckling down a lot more on staying steady on that stuff, and also had an experience in December where I just had been carrying, my dad was an alcoholic, abusive, and just left when I was 8, tragedy with my 2 oldest brothers, a lot of things that weighed heavy on me my entire life, demons that assisted me greatly in the cage, because, the opponent across the cage basically embodied all my demons at one time, and it really served a purpose at one time in my life. But, those demons have drugged me down over the years. And, I had an experience in December where I was alone for an evening and really prayed hard about, like, all my resentments, my demons, my anger, all that stuff. And I think that, really focusing on my health, physical, spiritual, all of that, took place but ultimately, and I'm getting to a point here with my health, that over an 8-hour period, I stayed up all night battling with my demons, dude. It was like I kid you not, it was like I went through an exorcism. If you've ever watched an exorcism taking place, I literally felt like I was going through that. I'd pray, meditate, get rid of all my anger, start to fall asleep, and then it'd all rush back in, man. And I'd go through the process again. And this happened over and over and over for 8 hours. And I finally fell asleep, and I woke up, and all that stuff was gone. The weight was gone. And you know, that's when I went to my dad's grave for the first time since he was buried when I was, 18. You know, a lot of things happened, but also with the chemical-free body products and all the other stuff I've been doing, you know, I've had asthma-like symptoms for well over a decade, and all that stuff's going away. I can actually breathe now. It's very bizarre because I would run, 30, 40, 50, 60, 75 miles when I was training with those long-distance runners, and I was suffocating the whole time. I felt like I was breathing through a straw for the every run I ever did. And it was misery, and I'd build up massive lactic acid and be in horrible pain. It just sucked. It made everything, when everybody else was talking and having a good time, I was suffering the whole time. So, and then I had a huge patch of psoriasis on the back of my head, and both of those are going away. I mean, I can breathe. I can actually breathe normally now, and my psoriasis is disappearing. And that was really a tough thing to deal with. Also, having psoriasis that badly it's not easy to deal with, So I'm just saying that the combination of, I think, really buckling down and taking care of myself and eating a lot more plant-based. I eat a lot less meat now. I mean, every once in a while I'll have a little bit, but I really don't eat meat much at all anymore. I eat a lot of plants. My 15-year-old daughter went vegan. And she's using the Greens 85 a lot now, and it's pretty amazing, man. I am now a walking testament to a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about, and it's pretty amazing to feel. Tomorrow I'm gonna go swim a mile. I just want to see what it feels like to swim when I can breathe. Think about having asthma-like symptoms and then having your face in the water most of the time, and just getting a chance every 3 strokes to catch a breath. Yeah. How bad that feels. So I'm just going to go feel what it's like and see what happens, And I think I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting in great shape, finally, for the first time in over a decade. Even though I was able to run 75 miles a couple of years ago, I wasn't really in shape. I was really, really struggling. So I can breathe now. It's incredible.
That's awesome, man. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
brother.
Great job, Pat. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm just really happy.
But again, I mean, going back to all of this, it's all all-encompassing, not just the products, not just the ethic, but the mindset, man. A certain way of, like, right-mindedness, right livelihood, just everything, right? I mean, it's nothing individually. I think all these things collectively have to be right because, like you said, Tim, I mean, when we are on that kind of not just homeostatic, but that right level, we're vibrating at that frequency. But whatever it is, whether it's emotional stuff, past pain, or food, and the combination of all of it. I mean, Pat and I, we've talked about how some of these shooters, Ritalin, processed foods, all this crap, it's messing with our brain chemistry and our body chemistry. And as we purge some of that, I mean, my brother just said, man, you begin to elevate in all kinds of ways, man. It's fucking beautiful, brother.
Pat, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
What prompted you to have this 8-hour meditation sequence? Was there a trick? What made you decide to do that?
I'm just going through. I went through a lot of stuff, and it was just it was time. It was time. Where I think a lot of that's the thing is, it's kind of hard to explain, but all those demons I realized were just beating me up. And I was beating myself up, for all those years. And I had to release it. I had to release it and just address it and just move forward and just dump all the demons, dump all the resentments and move forward. And, and I conduct myself differently now because I went through that. I'm not as quick to criticize anyone. I try not to criticize people. If I'm in a debate with somebody, I try to be more understanding. I try to listen more. But at the same time, I was somebody who would, if somebody would piss me off, I'd stay pissed off for the entire day. Like if you piss me off first thing in the morning, I was pissed till I went to bed, and
Yeah.
it would weigh me down, right?
Yeah.
All that negative energy, and so now I'm learning to release that, get rid of it. Or if you're doing something that's pissing me off, I'm going to address you, not in a way that I would say, hey, listen, I'm gonna kick your ass or whatever. It's more about, hey, listen, this is what you're doing that's upsetting me, causing me a problem, and this is how I feel about what you're doing. I'd appreciate it if you'd stop, and if you can't stop, then all right, I just won't be around you. But I'm not one to just walk away and carry that anger. Now I'll address it with you and say, hey man, listen, don't step on my toes. This is my space. Don't do it. And I'm not and I don't get as offended as easily, and offense is a choice. I realize that, but when somebody goes out of their way to do something to piss me off or whatever, I just let them know, or I dump it and I move on, and that's changed
huge,
a lot of the way that I conduct myself from, throughout a day. So
And it's
I'll
gonna
also
help
I'll also catch myself and apologize right away if I do something wrong. If I say something wrong, to hurt somebody's feelings or anything, which I really haven't done a whole lot of, that I know of, but a couple times, with my wife and I, I'll be, at least I'll just say, hey man, I apologize, and hope you accept my apology and we can move on,
You call her man. Hey, man.
No, I don't.
Hey, bro.
Hey,
you
dude.
know I love you, bro.
Right.
No, I mean, but
that's awesome.
That's
going
huge.
to lead to a much happier life for you, everybody around you. So congrats on that awareness.
Yeah,
It reminds me of that book by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. There was
Yes, I've been listening to
question
Eckhart lately.
somebody asked, and there was like, how can I just let it go? He's like, well, how do you let go of a hot coal?
Yeah.
You just drop it.
Yeah.
I've been listening to him a
that's
lot
the thing,
lately, and I
David
strongly
Clark
suggest
is-
everybody does. Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. He's got a lot of lectures and videos online. Sorry, Pat.
Yeah. No, go ahead and repeat that again, Jeffrey.
Eckhart Tolle. He's The Power of Now. I've just listened to hours and hours and hours over the years. I mean, we've all kind of gone through our stuff, but he was very huge, along with the other people, of helping kind of a huge paradigm shift for me, kind of as what kind of you gone through, maybe different dynamics, but just still just changing the way I was thinking about things, conducting myself, etc. Like, the War Games thing, the best way to win, the movie The War Games, the best way to win is not to play. So when it comes to fights or arguments with people, etc., I just don't internalize it. I don't let it define me, etc. Just let it wash over us, etc., etc. But yeah, I mean, because people do, man, that kinetic lift that you got, bro, like Tim was saying, that's going to change the whole direction of your life and the people in your life. Because you see a lot of people, we all walk around and conduct our daily lives, but we all have our stuff. And a lot of people have different degrees of stuff. But when you let go of that kind of kinetic stuff, we've talked about epigenetics. That stuff is passed on to our kids. But when you release it, it's not as, you know what I mean? So kudos to you, brother. I love you, man. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us, too, bro.
Like I was saying, it served a great purpose when I was getting paid to fight guys that were paid to beat me up, and it really, really motivated me and drove me like a madman. But going through life, man, I don't know. I think it's why fighters and guys who are in the military, veterans and stuff, and former fighters, can kind of relate to each other, because we all have our demons, it's really weird. It's like the demons that I had were created, much earlier than these guys had demons. Their demons were created in warfare and seeing their buddies die, and then questioning why they were in those wars, why those guys were, they'll question why they were in those wars in the first place, and I can feel their pain. I can empathize with those guys, because I've been through, a lot of similar stuff, obviously different, but similar.
That's a common thread, honestly. I had this conversation with my best friend, bro, and it's usually people who are the best at whatever, Tiger Woods, Pat Miletich, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, whatever. It's not necessarily this pursuit to be great, even though that's kind of a byproduct of their demons, them running from or towards their demons. And like you said, it's a huge fuel sometimes to propel. Like Roy Jones Jr., man, he telling a story how his dad used to beat him with a lead pipe while he was training. Like, you know, fire. I mean, that's just anyway. It's a very common tale or common thread in people who excel on the level. Like when we talked to Dan Gable, his sister being raped and murdered next door. Believe me, had something to do with Dan Gable becoming Dan Gable. And, you know,
I think it was everything. I mean, he talks about that, right? He used that fire, that anger, and saw the hardship and misery that his parents were in because of that, and felt that, you know, if he could become the best in the world at something, his parents would stay together, because he was petrified that they were going to divorce over this because of the pain that they felt. So he literally became the greatest wrestler. He was so driven, reading all his books and, you know, all that stuff. And as a little kid, I idolized him, and I knew about that stuff. I read the books. I watched the documentaries and stuff. But after my two oldest brothers committed suicide, it clicked. That's when it drove me, and I saw my mom in misery from that. And then it was like, wow, I got to make my mom smile again, man. I gotta do something huge. I got to do something huge. And it drove me like a madman. And, you know, Gable, still to this day, he's so intense. He's so focused. It's incredible.
Yeah, that doesn't go away.
Cool.
Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is a you know, large multi-pronged thing. When you start talking about self-care, essentially, it has to be your diet, it has to be your mindset, it has to be your daily routine. But again, you know, you have to want to do it. You are worth it, ladies and gentlemen. There's no there's no circumstances where, you know, don't believe the voice in your head. You know, your past does not define your future. You know, we are all infinite conscious awareness. We have so many beautiful gifts right in front of us, man. And, you know, I hope we're all here to enjoy it, man, because it's an amazing thing. So, Tim, I don't know, bro. Any closing things from you, Patrick? Either of you guys?
Nothing controversial, unless you want to talk about the coronavirus, which we don't want to ruin the great episode with the coronavirus.
Yeah,
we'll
do that. We'll do a part 2. This one was too dope.
Yeah, well, I think that probably the most important thing is if you feel like you're lost in life or you don't know where to start, just start with your health. Improve that. You know, it's kind of like a rising tide lifts all boats. You know, finances, relationships, career, all those things will get better. Sex, everything gets better. You play golf, whatever, you know, everything will get better when you're feeling better.
And what's the name of that study, or the photographic way they were shooting plants or food to?
Oh, it's called Kirlian photography.
Right. So when you're ingesting food that show this irradiation of energy and life, that I think has to help with, you know, all these other things that we kind of help or want to do in our life, because we're all eating. You know, I'm not even gonna get on the soapbox on meat or not meat, but we're just eating processed, dead food. You know, these animals are killed in the most horrible fashions, and that spikes their hormones, and that taints the meat we're eating. That's the cat poop in the brownie. So, I mean, it's all about
even plants, though, too, Jeffrey. If you look at Kirlian photography and you're measuring an energetic frequency of a plant or an animal before you ingest it, if you cook a plant, it's dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you stick your finger on a burner or on a hot plate, what's going to happen? You're going to get burnt. You're going to go, whoa! You're going to pull your hand back. If you keep your hand there, it's going to cook, and it's going to be denatured. But we cook stuff and we eat it. Now, in nature, how many animal species and bug species, all the species, and how many other animals on this planet cook their food?
Yeah. Bless you.
None.
Yeah.
No, we're the only species that cooks our food. So I looked into this a little bit, and you can look into like, I have it in my manual. It's it showed I think was it the Max Planck Institute or something? They did a study, and it was like, when you cook, like protein as an example, when you cook it, 50% of those proteins are coagulated and unusable by the body. So now your body has a foreign object that it has to deal with and get out. So your white blood cells or your leukocytes increase like 200 to 500%, and they have to go deal with this cooked food. Now, I grew up on cooked food. I like cooked food. I'm thinking about cornbread right now. But when you eat that stuff, your body looks at it and it's like, oh shit, invader.
Yeah.
Because it's not we're not genetically programmed to eat cooked food. So the white blood cells increase, And the white blood cells are part of your military defense system. Let's say they're the Marines, and the Marines are now deployed to go deal with the cooked food. Well, what are they not able to deal with? Because if they're over in Afghanistan dealing with something, they can't deal with anything on the Mexican border.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
to be political.
Yeah.
But
Nice analogy there for our
guys
audience,
get
Tim.
what I'm
Nice
saying?
analogy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's crazy. So what the goal is that if you can get to 51% of your food by weight to be raw, uncooked, unprocessed foods, you can stop this process called digestive leukocytosis. You can stop your body's immune system from having to tax itself just to digest and process your food and get the food out of you so that it's not harming you. So, just eat more raw, fresh foods. And if
Yeah.
you can't, sprouts are living foods, and that's when you become a wild creature again. Or you take a product like this that's been hand picked and taken care of, so the frequency's still in it. You're actually charging your cells up rather than creating a body burden and then polluting the body.
There's
So that's
another
the difference.
there's another very
First-
interesting video before we dip. This lady, she's mid 70s, beautiful, just stunning black woman. She looks like she's 35, maybe early 30s, and she eats nothing and has eaten nothing but raw fruits and vegetables for the last 40 some years. Her husband, they're the same age. He's this just fat, probably type 2 diabetes, salt and pepper, gray-haired black dude, sweet as hell. Like, he's just I love my baby, She tries to get me to eat that mess, but it's night and day. I mean, and it's just clear. I mean,
Yeah.
it works, ladies and gentlemen. Look
Yeah,
up the
she
girl.
looks like his daughter. And
Have
the
you
only
seen it?
reason-
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I studied all these raw food people that had success, and I probably the reason why he's alive is because his wife's hot. So it's like, I
She's
don't
a
wanna die.
smoke show, dude. A
Hey, before
smoke
we
show.
go, Eckhart Tolle, how do I spell his name?
ECKHARTTOLLE. He's a German
Eckhart.
guy that
And the last name again?
Tolle.
Tolle.
Okay.
He literally was sitting.
Get all my coaching students on. It's called The Power of Now.
Yeah, there's so many videos. He has so. I mean, Oprah endorsed him, and he's been on a tour forever. But the chillest, little, just most soft-spoken, just Confucius.
Well, if Oprah backs him, then
Well,
he's
no.
gonna get arrested for like
Dude,
crazy
this
shit
guy
or
is so chill, man. His little nuggets of wisdom are great, and it really, it's really helped. When I was going.
I just like it because, I'm not like a genius or anything when it comes to linguistics. So he speaks in a way that I can understand the spiritual stuff in a way that I wasn't able to. Some of these other books, over my head. And then, I just had a private coaching client today. I'm actually taking this book, The Power of Now, and kind of going through it and then breaking it down with him. And he really appreciates that because he's new. He's brand new into this stuff. He's like, even this is a little over his head. So
it is pretty simple, though. I mean, because he breaks down what Pat was just talking about. Pat has been carrying around what Eckhart Tolle calls our pain body. Whatever our tale is in life, we allow that to define us. We allow our life situation to define our life, and we carry this pain body. So, I mean, it just goes super, super deep into how he doesn't. It gives you tools and just talks about how to not allow whatever situation in your life to define you. Your infinite conscious awareness, and I mean, he goes deep, dude. He's super dope.
dude, this book is so awesome.
It really is. And there's even an audio version. There's like a 7 or 10 hour audio version. So
I will listen. I will check it out. Thank you.
Here
Yeah.
we go, Pat. Look, Power Now.
Beautiful.
he's awesome, man. He's really good, and it's good stuff. So Tim James, ladies and gentlemen, El Jefe of the Chemical Free Body. Thank you again so much, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get some of this stuff, chemicalfreebody.com/farmer. Promo code farmer for discounts on products, man.
Check it out.
I can't thank you enough, brother, for your time and continued success, and looking forward to chatting again.
And before we go, we need to talk real quick because we're going to do the Conspiracy Farm Offensive Bastards tour this summer.
Yes.
So I've already talked to my partners at Offensive Bastard, and we're going to be rolling, buddy. We're going to get this going. We're already talking about LA. We're talking about Denver. We're talking about Dallas, some other cities. We're going to make this happen, dude.
Dude, you got to come to Portland.
And yeah, we'd love to come. We'd love to come and have you as the guest, and we're going to get after it. We're going to talk about some good stuff to help people. We're going to talk about some things to educate people on many different subject matters, and ruffle some feathers and bring out the truth.
Always.
Love it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, peace and so much love. As always, stay tuned. There'll always be more.